Could you tell the jury, please, your full name and your occupation?
My name is Rafael Lopez. I'm currently a deputy sheriff at the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been a police officer?
10 years.
And have you spent all that time with the Sheriff's Department?
I started in 2009, October 2009, with the Sheriff's Department as a detention officer. I spent 2 years at the detention center. I was applied for a patrol division and I was accepted in 2011. I then attended the academy the Soletzi Academy in Tucson, Arizona, and graduated in 2012.
Could you maybe pull the microphone a little closer to you? I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you. Maybe you could just pull it closer.
Is that better?
Yes, thank you. You're soft-spoken like me, so. Could you tell us, you said you attended the academy. Is that the standard academy we've heard other officers talk about? Anything unusual about your academy?
It's a Soletzi Academy in Tucson, Arizona. It's a Southern Arizona law enforcement training center. And
how long's the academy?
I stayed there since September 2011 till January of 27th, which is when I graduated in 2012.
And you've been with the Sheriff's Department ever since?
Yes.
And were you on duty on January 30th of 2023?
Yes, I was.
And what were you doing that day, early in the day?
I was working at the school when I heard the call.
And what were you doing at the school?
I was a school resource officer.
So at the time you were assigned as a school resource officer?
At that time, yes.
And what kind of call came out that would pull a school resource officer?
Emergency call, alert tone.
And alert tone, we heard about that earlier. That's when you hear a specific sound on the dispatch?
Yes, actually, since I'm assigned to the school, I'm supposed to stay there till the day ends, and it was around that time. So I did hear the call earlier. Once I was done with traffic and everything, I proceeded to the area as well, just to, even though I knew already there were deputies at the scene, I just proceeded in case they needed some backup or assistance.
All right, so you finished up your school day and then you decided to head on out to the call. Is that?
Yes.
Okay. So when you arrived, do you know how many other deputies were on scene?
There were 2, 3, 4.
Do you know what time you arrived at the scene?
I left from school at 15:06 and arrived sometime 15:27, 15:28 hours.
So close to 3:30 in the afternoon?
Yes.
When you got there, what's the first thing you observed when you arrived?
I saw the patrol cars in the area, and I went straight to one of them. Somebody, I think I heard over the radio that they were looking for Mr. George Kelly, or a subject with 2 dogs and a rifle. So I went and approached one of the units, the patrol cars, and that was Sergeant Julia Garcia.
And after you spoke with Sergeant Garcia, what did you observe next?
Well, when I was talking to her car to car, she mentioned that she could hear dogs, and she pointed to the distance, and then we saw that there was 2 border patrols coming and with a male subject, and she said it was probably him.
So you saw two Border Patrol officers, and what were they doing? Were they walking? Were they in a vehicle?
They were walking with Mr. Kelly.
And you later identified him as Mr. Kelly?
They did, because he was walking towards patrol cars, and they said it was him. So I just remained there for a few minutes, and then I knew it was him, because that was the reason I was there, to kind of go search for him. And they said it was him.
And what did you see of him when you were there?
He was carrying a rifle, and his dogs were with him.
And you see him here in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Could you describe what he's wearing for the court, please?
He's wearing his blue shirt and blue vest.
And could the record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant?
So ordered.
And after you knew that Mr. Kelly had been located, and that was why you were there, was to help locate him, what did you do next?
I just went back. I left the scene. I think they remained there still while I left.
So you were there pretty briefly, it sounds like.
Yeah, probably 10 minutes or less.
Did you have some involvement in this case later in the day?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell us what started that involvement later in the day?
Well, I was actually working Operation Stone Garden.
And could you explain what that is to the jury, please?
It's a different assignment that we work ourselves at after we're done with our patrol duties. We sign up for that. It's usually overtime. It is overtime. So what happens there is that this operation, it's working alongside or in conjunction with Border Patrol to assist with any illegal narcotics or immigrants coming in through the border. What happened that day, I came in to work Stone Garden at 4 p.m. That's why I left the scene that day, so I could be on time to start the other assignment. I started at 4 p.m. and then it runs from 4 to 8 p.m. But while I was working Stone Garden, I was assigned to Duquesne Road, which is nearby where the incident had occurred earlier with Mr. Kelly. So I took it upon myself to go check the side dirt roads that lead to the border. And I was, just in case I saw, because they had mentioned there were subjects running earlier, and I said, you know what, I'll check just in case there's somebody hiding or it's already past 3 hours or 2 hours since this occurred. They could now think that we're not here. We'll probably, if there's somebody walking in the area, I'll probably see them. So I went to the Forest Service Road, which is a side dirt road that leads to the border. And I was there when I heard another call from dispatch.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand what you're telling me. You check out of the call at the Kelly residence and you check on to Stone Garden, but you decide you're gonna go ahead and search the area because you're concerned.
Because they assigned me to that area, Duquesne.
Okay.
Duquesne, which is the road that passes through Keno Springs Village in Duquesne. It leads to that area, near the ranch.
And so you said you drove down a Forest Service road, and did I understand you to say the Forest Service road that goes to the border?
Yeah, those Forest Service roads, technically, they're roads that interconnect and they lead to the border.
Okay.
If you follow them all the way, they lead to the border wall or the fence.
Did you see anything while you were looking in this area?
No, I was looking, and I didn't see anybody in the area.
And then I think you documented in your report that you were at Duquesne in a Forest Service road. Which Forest Service road was that?
4667.
Okay, and when you were at that Forest Service road in Duquesne, what's the next thing that happened?
I heard over the radio that dispatch was saying that Border Patrol had called, saying that to proceed again to the same area where we had gone before, which was Mr. Kelly's place, and mentioned that he had struck something.
And what time did this call come out?
Around 1756,
And what time is that in non-military time?
like 5:56 p.m.
And when you got this call, what did you do?
Even though I was nearby, I decided to go and assist because this call was given to the patrol officers, whoever was in charge of that district. But I decided to go myself as well, just to make sure everything was fine. I actually arrived before the patrol officer that was supposed to head over there. I arrived before.
Okay, so a patrol officer got deployed as well, and you, because you're in the area, went ahead and responded.
Because it was the call was given to a patrol officer.
All right.
The assigned one, and since it's too far from Rio Rico for them to make it all the way to the ranch, and I was nearby, I proceeded myself as well.
Was there something about the call that led you to be concerned before you arrived?
Well, yes, because earlier we had heard that there were shots fired, and we didn't know if it was something was going on again. So that's why I decided to go and assist.
When you got there, at some point, you were concerned enough that you did something. What did you do when you arrived?
Well, actually, when I arrived to the gate, I saw Mr. Kelly coming towards the gate. He was on the phone, and I decided to turn on my recorder, my issued recorder from the sheriff's office.
What caused you to do that?
Well, the reason was that we knew that earlier the reports were that shots were fired, so I needed the information just to get it correct.
And did you document this recording? Did you put that into evidence?
I did.
And when you put that into evidence, what item number did you mark it with?
Item number 1RL.
Showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 38. Do you recognize that item?
Yes,
How do you recognize it?
because it's a copy of the CD that I turned in for the recording that I got that day.
And how do you know that it's a copy of that recording?
It says here,
Did,
Lopez recording of Kelly.
did you review that recording and initial and date it on the back of that envelope?
That was on July 25th of 23, which was last year, when I went and reviewed it and initialed it.
And is that an accurate copy of the recording of the recording you made of Mr. Kelly on January 30th of 2023?
Yes.
Your Honor, move for admission of State's Exhibit 38.
No objection.
Exhibit 38 is admitted.
Your Honor, permission to publish?
Permission granted. Do we need to dim the lights or?
Your Honor, it's just an audio recording, but I do have a stack of transcripts to hand out for everyone that I've provided to the JAA with the court's permission.
I guess for the record, I'd object on the best evidence rule. I think that just hearing the recording is better than the transcript.
And Your Honor, I can lay the foundation for the transcript as well because the deputies observed that as well.
Is the audio difficult to hear?
It can be, Judge. It's just for everyone's convenience in following along. There are some of it is kind of faded in and out, so you really have to listen.
And it's all audio, it's not video. All right, you can go ahead and distribute those to the jurors. But so members of the jury, you're going to get a transcript of whatever it is you're going to hear. The evidence is the recording itself. The transcript is not evidence. The transcript is just there to, it's not being admitted, so it's not going into evidence. The transcript is there to aid you, if you want, to try to understand what's being said on the recording. But if you hear something different on the recording from what's in the transcript, the recording is the evidence, not the transcript. It's kind of like another one of those, what I call demonstrative exhibits. And listen carefully, because when you go back into the jury room to deliberate the case, the evidence will be recording and you won't have the transcript. So the objection's overruled.
And just for the record, Deputy Lopez, did you also review the transcript that we're going to look at with this recording as well?
Yes.
And was it accurate?
Yes. I did do a correction on which is on page 3, fourth line. On my report, it said if he shot it, and on the recording it says who shot it. I asked him who shot it. That I made that correction.
Okay.
He for who?
It should be he shot him?
No, who shot it?
It should say who shot it.
Yeah, it's on page 3.
Okay.
So the correction's been made on the transcript.
The correction was actually to his report, is what I understand. Is that right?
Yeah, to the supplemental report. Yeah, it's later was discovered on, and that word was changed to who shot it.
Okay, so the transcript's actually accurate.
Yes. I also made the correction on the first line of the supplemental report. The case number was listed as 210130-006 instead of on the report instead of 230130-006.
Okay,
That was fixed, and then
but that's not the transcript, right? That's an error. Both are errors in your report.
yeah, no, the transcript, the only error was that the he for a who.
Okay.
Which the who is the correct one.
And could we have the? I'm sorry, this is not the wrong, right? Pardon me. Can I have a blank screen for this?
Yes.
shot fired, and I didn't know what it was about. Okay, so I went out to get the horse, always bring him in and feed him. There's another back. I went out there to get him. And y'all guys, you weren't over here? Yeah, I was here. Y'all walked all over there. And the border patrol walked all over. And maybe this happened after you left. I don't know. There's a body right now. And I don't. Yes. By fresh. I didn't, as soon as I saw it, I backed away from it. It's lying face down. It's dead. The body, the person. So when do you think it's passed away? I have. You know who it is? I have no way of seeing the judge. He was new. You know what I'm doing? The drug runner. He had a pack, a small pack. Now, if you remember, we saw 5 to 10 drug runners coming through with large backpacks. I do. Yeah. He did not have a large backpack on, but he had a small, and he's in tan here and camo. And, so, as soon as I found it, came right back to the call. I called Border Patrol because that was the first ones I called. Because I didn't really know how to call you guys. So I called Border Patrol, Jerry Morissette. He called the Border Patrol agent, and they said, and he said they're going to call the sheriff and they'll send someone out there. Then your secretary or dispatcher, I suppose, called me. I was on the phone with her when you drove up. Okay. And she said he's coming out right now. I have no idea. I have no idea. I have no idea. And you know, if you were me, you got no idea. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Ready? Yeah, you can pull it right behind my car. Okay. You go ahead. I'll walk. I'm gonna leave the gate open. Yeah. My dog's gonna bark. 2 black ones? Huh? The 2 black ones? Yeah, I'm sorry to drag you out. It's something that it ain't serious. Yeah. I mean, it ain't like somebody from a hospital. So curious, very quick. It could be, the body could have expired after y'all were here. I have no idea. Stuff running around all over this place all the time, you know. How far is it from here? Okay, I'll take a start in over there. Yeah.
And Deputy, is that the recording of your conversation with Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Did you turn your recorder off at that point?
Yes, when he was leaving to his house to get his jacket.
Now, Deputy, I want to show you a map of the area that's been admitted as State's Exhibit 114. And can you tell me where it is that you came into the property and where you went with Mr. Kelly? And in front of you is a stylus, a pen. And if you touch in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, it'll give you a color, and you can either draw, or if you touch, it'll put an arrow.
We can't see it.
I think it's because I couldn't click the slideshow. I just didn't click the slideshow. Okay. Is that a map of the area?
It's an aerial view, it's not.
I'm sorry, an aerial view of the area.
Yes.
If I zoomed it in, would it be helpful for you?
Yes, definitely.
And do you see a gate? Do you see the gate where you mentioned that you met with Mr. Kelly?
Can you zoom in a little bit more?
I can't, actually. That's as good as it gets.
Okay, I don't see the gate, but it should be like around there.
Is it possible it's a little further north than that? And you can move that screen a little if you need to.
It's north of the house, but
Okay, so you think it's in that area somewhere?
the first gate.
Okay. And when you came through the gate, where did you meet with Mr. Kelly? Was it at the gate?
Yes, at the gate.
And where did you pull in?
When he opened the gate, we stopped right there when I was talking to him and I was recording. Then as I came in slowly, at the end I went to the south side of the property, where the tractor and the trailer was at.
Do you see that in this aerial view? Do you have a glare on your screen? Are you having trouble seeing?
It's probably in this area.
Okay, so that's the area you pulled your patrol car?
Yes.
And then what did you do once you got to that area?
He was walking from his house back to where I was at.
And what had he done at his house, do you know?
He said he was gonna pick up a jacket. He would meet with me over there so he could take us or take me to the site where the body was located.
Okay. And so you waited for him there by the trailer?
Actually, it was only like a minute.
Okay.
He was already coming back. I parked and I was looking at him. He was coming. As soon as he arrived, there was another patrol car coming.
And do you know what time that was that the other patrol car arrived?
It was like approximately 6:15 p.m., 6:17, 6:16.
And who was in that other patrol car?
It was Sergeant Omar Rodriguez.
And did he pull his patrol car near where you were?
Yes, he parked approximately 10 feet from my patrol car.
And what happened when Sergeant Rodriguez arrived?
I was already off my vehicle and Mr. Kelly was also with me, and he when he saw the patrol car arriving, he asked who it was, and I told him it was one of the sheriffs.
And what did Sergeant Rodriguez do when he got there?
He came straight to us.
And when he got there, what did he ask Mr. Kelly to do?
I don't remember what he asked, but Mr. Kelly did mention that there was a flashlight that he left where the body was at.
Okay. And so at this point, Mr. Kelly's telling you he left a flashlight near the body?
He told Sergeant Rodriguez.
Okay, and after he told Sergeant Rodriguez that, what did Sergeant Rodriguez do next?
Well, Mr. Kelly was talking to him, and I was behind him, and then he told him about the flashlight, and Mr. Kelly told him about the flashlight, and pointed over there. He then Sergeant Rodriguez asked him if he was armed.
And what did Mr. Kelly say?
He said he was.
And what happened after that?
Sergeant Rodriguez told him that if it was okay, if he could leave his gun here instead of carrying it over there. Mr. Kelly, if he was good to leave it, and Mr. Kelly said yes.
And what did Mr. Kelly do at that point?
He took his gun from his waist, and I don't remember if I got it myself or he put it himself in the trailer, because the trailer was like maybe 10 feet from us, 12 feet.
What kind of trailer?
It's a small horse trailer.
But in any event, somehow Mr. Kelly's weapon that he had on his waist was left in the trailer.
Yeah, the door was it was on the back door inside.
In the back door on the inside of the trailer.
Uh-huh.
And then what did y'all do next?
We proceeded to follow him or go with him towards the other gate that's right next to it. We then walked towards the area where the flashlight was at, and
Do you know what time this was?
no, it was fairly quick. When Sergeant Rodriguez arrived, it was probably 4 minutes later.
Okay. And so you head toward the area where the flashlight's hanging in the tree, is that right?
Yes.
And where was that on this map, generally, if you know?
Yeah, generally it was probably somewhere in this area.
Okay. And so how did you get there?
Walking.
Did you mark this area at all, or are you just guessing?
What do you mean?
You circled an area on the map. Did you document that in any way with GPS or with anything?
Not
of that
me.
nature?
Not me.
Somebody else did that.
Somebody else did that.
So the circle you just made,
It's
Got a guess?
technically east of the house, of the ranch house, southeast.
so that area, that circle you just drew is not southeast of the ranch house, is that right?
It's to the east of the house where the body was at. I didn't get the coordinates or anything, but I know we walked to that side.
Okay. And how did you get there when you walked? Were you just hiking through the grass, or was there a path, or how did you get there?
There was grass, and I believe there was a little path, but it was not too marked. I don't really remember, but it was like a 3-minute walk, 2-3 minute walk.
So you walked for 2 or 3 minutes, and what did you find after you walked for 2 or 3 minutes?
When we got there, I could see a body, and I just stopped right there before we all stopped. Then Sergeant Rodriguez approached the body and started examining it to make sure it was or check if the person was still alive.
Did Sergeant Garcia have some conversation with Mr. Kelly at this point?
It was Sergeant Rodriguez, not
I'm
Garcia.
sorry. Did Sergeant Rodriguez have some conversation with Mr. Kelly at this point?
Yeah, they did have a small talk, and he went straight to the body.
Did Did you document the conversation between Sergeant Rodriguez and Mr. Kelly?
No, he probably documented it himself.
Do you recall the conversation at all?
No, I just remained there because the two dogs were also nearby. I concentrated on not disturbing or leaving any, because I know there was going to be some footprints or something. So I just stood there with Mr. Kelly, and he stayed with me as well. And while Sergeant Rodriguez examined the body.
And then what's the next thing that happened?
Well, I was able to see from where I was standing, probably more than 10 feet, there was a person lying face down, and he had a stain of blood on his right side. I could see that there was a black radio next to him, and then a little fanny pack on the side as well. The person had tactical boots. I don't remember what he was wearing, but soon after, Sergeant Rodriguez said the person was deceased.
I'm going to show you next what's been marked as State's Exhibit 35, image number 0038. That's already been admitted. Is this what you observed when you were there that day?
Yes.
And you talked about a tree with a flashlight in it. Is that the tree in the background you're referring to?
I don't see a flashlight, but yeah, it should be a tree next, about 10 feet from where it was, from where the body was.
Does that appear to be accurate?
Fairly accurate.
And I see some lights in the background. Is that the Kelly residence in the background?
I think so.
Do you know?
Yeah, the tree, because the tree was to this side and it was pointing, the house was to that side as well.
So does that appear to be accurate?
Yes, it would be the house, the ranch.
So after you're there and Mr. Kelly and Sergeant Rodriguez have a conversation, what's the next thing that you do?
Sergeant Rodriguez told me that we should go back and take the dogs to the residence.
And what was the reason for taking the dogs, do you know?
Because they were running around and he didn't want the scene disturbed.
And so did you do that?
Yes, me and Mr. Kelly, we went back and took the dogs.
And when you got back, what's the next thing that happened?
Well, from there we walked all the way to his house, the same route we took when we left the patrol cars. We passed through the trailer, kept going, walked all the way to the house, to the garage area, and he left his two dogs inside.
After he did that, where did you and Mr. Kelly go at that point?
We then went back and walked to the patrol cars and stayed outside near the patrol cars.
And what's the next thing that happened?
I told them that we were going to wait for more assistance from deputies to come and then we remained there for probably more than 40 minutes.
And at one point, did Sergeant Rodriguez ask you to do something?
Yeah, I believe we were there when Sergeant Rodriguez told me to remove the gun from the trailer and secure it in my patrol car.
And did you do that?
Yes, I did.
arrived next to the scene?
I know more deputies arrived. We were there. I believe it was. I'm not sure if it was deputy.
And that's okay, it doesn't matter who was the next person to arrive, but at some point did Sergeant Garcia arrive at the scene?
Yes, they started arriving, but since I was over with Mr. Kelly, they never met with me or anything. I know that they started coming in more patrol cars.
Did you see what Sergeant Garcia did at that point when she arrived?
No.
At some point did Sergeant Pacheco arrive?
Yes, he did arrive.
And what did Sergeant Pacheco say when he arrived?
He later went to where I was at and met with Mr. Kelly.
And what did he do with Mr. Kelly?
He told him he needed to get a statement from him and told him he was gonna head down to told him that he needed to go with him because he needed a statement from him.
And before he did that, did he search him?
He retrieved his cell phone, magazine with ammo, and folding knife in a pouch.
And what did he do with those items?
He gave them to me.
And after he retrieved those items, did he place Mr. Kelly in handcuffs?
Mr. Kelly was placed in handcuffs.
Was there some issue about putting gloves on Mr. Kelly because it was cold as well? If you recall.
I don't recall.
And so after he handed those personal items over to you, what did he do next?
What did he do? He left with Mr. Kelly from where we were standing. And from there, I just remained at my patrol car and secured the items inside my patrol car as well. And then Sergeant Julia Garcia came up to me shortly after and provided me with a crime scene log that she had already started and told me to stay there. I moved myself to where the other patrol cars were at, the ones that followed. And from there, I just remained there, logging in whoever came or whoever left while I was in charge of the crime scene log.
At some point later that evening, did detectives arrive?
Yes.
And there were detectives there earlier as well, correct?
Yes, Sergeant Alfonso Flores arrived.
And did Sergeant Flores go out to where the body was located with Sergeant Rodriguez, if you know?
I never saw him with me, so he was probably over there.
Okay, he wasn't with you, so you don't know where he was.
I don't know where he was.
Now later that evening, did detectives arrive with a search warrant?
Yes.
What time was that?
I don't recall the time, but they began searching inside the residence.
Was that before or after midnight, if you know?
I don't recall.
Okay.
Probably after midnight.
And when, at some point, the items that you had in your patrol car, did you turn those over to someone else?
Yes, at the end, when they were in the residence, they told us that we could leave sometime like 1 a.m. So before leaving at that time, I passed those informations to Detective Mario Barba. I told him I have those items, and I gave it to him at that time.
So just so we're clear, you said that you had Mr. Kelly's handgun from the trailer, is that right?
Yes, and then the 3 other items.
And do you know, was that a .40 caliber handgun? Do you know?
I wouldn't even know.
So you just turned over whatever it was that you took from the trailer to Mario Barbo.
Yeah, from the trailer, and then the 3 items.
And then the 3 items you turned over were the cell phone, the magazine with the ammo, and the pouch with the folding knife.
Yes.
Did you do anything else at the scene? Or was that the end of your involvement?
That was the end of the involvement. I mean, technically, I just stayed with Mr. Kelly all that time until Sergeant Pacheco arrived and took with him. I did speak with him as well.
Okay, that's all I have, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, thank you. This is a good time to break for our mid-morning break. We'll take a 30-minute break, so.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I just want to go back to, you responded to the first call that happened in this case earlier in the day, is that right?
Yes.
But that was just very briefly, you sort of touched base with Sergeant Garcia and then you were done, is that right?
Yeah, I remained there a few minutes, so.
Okay, but you'd seen the property and you knew where it was from going on that first call, right?
Yes.
And then later in the evening, you are doing Operation Stone Garden near Duquesne Road, correct?
Yes.
I think you said that you were on a Forest Service road that connects with Duquesne Road, is that right?
Yes.
That Forest Service road, is that to the east generally of Mr. Kelly's property?
Southeast probably. It's on the east side.
So Duquesne Road generally sort of goes west to east, right? East-west? Duquesne Road?
It's on the east side of his
The
residence.
Forest Service road, right?
Duquesne Road, and then Duquesne Road has several dirt roads or Forest Service roads that start from it.
And those kind of connect up with each other and eventually go to the end of the wall, is that right?
Some of them, the one where I was at, it's one of those that leads to that area.
Okay. That's not on Mr. Kelly's property, correct?
No,
That's some distance away from his property, correct?
it's a Forest Service road, so
Do you know how far away it is from Mr. Kelly's property?
no, you can't see I wasn't able to see look for the house from there. I was just on that road.
Okay. And it took you some time when you got the call to drive out to Mr. Kelly's property, right?
Yes,
About how much time, do you remember?
probably a little bit more than 10 minutes.
And so the Forest Service road is about a 10-minute drive away from Mr. Kelly's property, more or less?
Yes, because like I said, it leads to the border, so I was I was farther in on that road.
Okay, so you go back to Duquesne Road and then over. I gotcha. And when you get to Mr. Kelly's property, you turn on your recording, is that right?
Yes.
Why did you turn on the recording that you had with you?
To get the facts, the initial facts.
What kind of a device is that? Is that something you carry with you or something you leave in your car?
It's a small issued recorder, probably an inch.
It's not a body cam, correct?
No, it's not.
It's not something that you wear on you when you answer calls,
No.
right? You carry it with you in your car,
Yes,
and you bring it out if you ever think, I need to record something. Is that right?
yes.
Do other deputies have the same recording devices in their cars? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay. But yours was issued to you from the sheriff's department?
Yes,
Okay. So you take this recording out and you begin to record when you arrive at Mr. Kelly's property, right?
yes,
And that's the recording that we heard, and that's the transcript that you have in front of you, correct?
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned making a correction to your police report, right?
Yes,
And I want to just kind of drill down on that a little bit. So you document in your police report what you believe Mr. Kelly said to you. Is that correct?
I document what I heard of the recording.
Okay. So when you write this police report, this is January 30th. Do you remember when you wrote your police report?
I wrote it probably the following day, maybe 2 days later.
And when you were writing that report, did you listen to the recording or were you writing this from memory?
No, I listened to the recording in order to put in what he said.
Okay. And in your report, do you have it in front of you by any chance?
No.
If you don't, I can show it to you. But in your report, it says, I asked him, meaning Mr. Kelly, I asked him if he shot him, and he said he had no idea. Does that sound like what you documented in your report that you later had to correct?
Yes.
Okay. So how did you become alerted to the fact that this was wrong? What you wrote down in your report was wrong and you needed to correct it.
Because I had a transcript, which is the one that I have here in front, that I reviewed later on at the county attorneys, just to make sure that everything was correct. That's where I saw the discrepancy.
And that's a pretty significant discrepancy, correct?
Yes.
Because originally you wrote down that Mr. Kelly stated in response to your question, did you shoot this person? He stated, I don't know, essentially. That's initially how you documented that in your report, right?
He said he didn't know.
That's what you documented in your report initially, correct?
I don't have the report with me, so I
Do
need
you
to
want to
see
take a
if
look at
it's...
it? Can you pull up on his screen so he can take a look at the report? And you should be able to see it on your screen in a minute. And it's in the second paragraph there.
Oh yeah, I see it.
You see it? And so it says, I asked him if he shot him, and he said again he had no idea, right?
He said.
And so that the implication there is that you asked Mr. Kelly directly, did you shoot this person? And he said, I don't know, right? That's the implication of what you documented in your report,
On
right?
the report.
And that was not correct, right?
No, it was who shot him.
And that completely changes the meaning, right?
Yes.
You asked Mr. Kelly who shot him, and he said, I have no idea. That's very, very different, right?
Yes.
And so you obviously needed to make that correction because that was a significant error, right? And it's really a good thing that you have this recording, right?
Yes.
Because then you could look back and go, oh, wow, I wrote down the wrong words in my report. I need to change those, right?
Yes.
And that only happened when you reviewed the transcript, correct? That's when you caught that error?
Yes, when since it's on the transcript, it's like word by word.
You stopped recording Mr. Kelly at some point, correct?
Yes.
Why did you stop recording him?
He went to pick up his jacket and I stopped the recording when he left to the house.
And why did you stop the recording?
Because he was not with me at that time. He left to his house.
But then he came back and joined you and showed you where the body was, right?
Yeah, he came to me with me at near the trailer.
And just to be clear, when he first encountered you and you came up to the house, he said that there was a dead body and it was a person, correct?
He said it was a dead, fresh body.
And if you have the transcript in front of you,
Yeah.
and it's on page 1, and I'm looking at line number 21. Do you see that?
Oh yeah, it's a person.
So that's the first time he's encountered law enforcement on his property since he discovered this body, right? That's you, right? You're the first person he encounters, right?
After discovering the body,
Yes.
yeah, he said he called the border patrol and then they
Right.
called us and I got there first.
You got there first, and he tells you there's a dead body, there's a person here, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so after he goes to the house to get his jacket and he takes you out to go see the body, why don't you start recording again at that point?
My recorder, I put it in the console, and when Officer Rodriguez was arriving to the gate, I stepped down the vehicle and left it in the console, center console.
Was it out of battery or something? Or did you just
No,
leave it
I
there?
inadvertently left it there because I had put it in there when I was when I stopped recording.
Okay. And Rodriguez, he wasn't recording either, as far as you know, correct?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
And any conversations then that you have with Mr. Kelly and when Rodriguez is there are, to your knowledge, not recorded, right?
From my part, they're not.
Okay. When you went out to go see where the body was with Rodriguez and Mr. Kelly, is that right?
Yes, the three of us went over there.
I think you said that Rodriguez examined the body.
Mm-hmm, that's right.
What
Yeah.
did he do to examine the body? Can you explain that?
He kneeled down and he had his back onto us, but I know he was checking for a pulse on the body.
You know he was checking for a pulse?
Well, like I said, I mean, he minutes later he said the body was deceased,
Okay.
so he was checking to see if it was alive.
Do you remember if he put gloves on before he did that?
No, I wouldn't. I was kind of maybe 10 feet, a little 12, 13 feet.
So you don't remember and you didn't see that?
Like I said, I stayed far from the body so as to not disturb, and then he walked to it and now down and started checking on the body.
Did you see him lift up any part of the body or touch the body in any way?
I don't recall. I don't know
Okay.
if he lifted the body or not, but he did say minutes later, a few seconds later, that it was not alive.
Okay. And you don't recall if he touched the fanny pack or the backpack or anything like that either,
No.
right? Okay. You go back, so Rodriguez tells you essentially to go back with Mr. Kelly, right? And to go wait somewhere away from the body?
No, he tells me to go with him so the dogs can be secured.
Okay. The dogs and you and Mr. Kelly then leave the area. Do you know if anybody, whether Rodriguez or you, did anybody look for tracks around this body?
When I left with the dogs, I didn't come back to the scene. So I'm not sure who looked for tracks, or if Sergeant Rodriguez did, or I don't know who.
But you didn't look for any tracks?
Not me.
Okay. What were the dogs doing around this body? Could you observe their behavior?
I do remember when we were walking towards the body the first time to see where it was, one of the dogs went to the area when we were walking and kind of sniffed around that's what I remember. The dogs were not sitting next to us or anything. They were there, but that's the only thing I can recall when we were heading there, that one of the dogs was in the area, kind of stopping and sniffing, but we were still walking to the body. That's what I remember.
Okay. And then you wanted to move the dogs away from the body so that they wouldn't contaminate the crime scene. Is that right? right?
Yes, Sergeant Rodriguez told me to move
Okay,
it, that we take him to the house.
I gotcha. And then you said that you're with Mr. Kelly, and at some point, I think you said it was Pacheco comes and puts him in handcuffs and says, we need to get a statement from you. Is that right?
Yeah, Sergeant Pacheco arrived later on and told him he needed a statement from him.
And then put him in handcuffs and took him
Yes.
in. Nobody attempted to get a statement from Mr. Kelly on the scene, is that right?
No, when I walked, we just walked to his house, and
Do you have any idea why nobody asked him any questions on the scene about what happened?
well, from my part, when we saw the body and it was deceased, I mean, we know that we're gonna need a statement from him, but it's gotta be a formal one, so no questions were asked.
And
From my side,
nobody asked him to demonstrate on his property, this is what I saw, this is where I was, this is what I did. Nobody asked him to do that, correct?
not from my part.
Okay, so they just took him in and took him without asking him anything on the scene. I want you to describe this area for me just a little bit, because you were there earlier in the day and then you came for this second call as well. Can you see the border wall from this property?
I don't recall. I know when I got there the first time, I went around and towards the south side, southwest side, and where the vehicle for Sergeant Garcia was at. She was on the road, on dirt road. So that's when I met with her. But I really don't recall viewing the wall. You can probably see it from there, but from my part, that day I didn't look for the wall or anything. I just went over there and see if we could find Mr. Kelly because of
Okay,
the concern that,
it would be pretty far off in the distance then. Is that fair to say?
yes,
So if a witness described the border wall as being just 2 football fields away from this property, that would not be accurate. Is that right?
like I said, I mean, I don't know how far the wall is from there. It's not near, it's,
If it were 2 football fields away, you would have seen it, right?
I would have seen.
And if a witness, you saw where the body was in relation to this house, is that right?
Yes.
If a witness said that this body was 10 yards away from the house, that would be incorrect, right?
It was to the east and probably more than 200 feet.
So 10 yards is
Easily.
definitely not
Because he's
correct.
got a fence. He's got like a horse fence. And then
My question is just 10 yards,
No,
definitely not
10
correct,
yards.
right? When you were on the way, when you were responding to this call, did you receive information that you got from dispatch prior to arriving?
They said that Mr. Kelly said he had struck something. That's all I remember from the, and I headed straight over there to from where I was at.
And you heard that on dispatch, so that was in your mind when you're out there. Mr. Kelly said he struck something, right?
Yes.
Did you later learn that that was not accurate?
That he had struck something?
That Mr. Kelly had never said he had struck something?
I'm not even sure. I haven't reviewed the radio logs or the recordings. But
So you don't know who reported that or how it got transmitted to dispatch, right? You don't know, right?
no. I know they said it was from Border Patrol.
So Mr. Kelly calls Border Patrol calls dispatch, and then dispatch puts something out to you, correct?
Yes.
Rodriguez was checking the body, did you notice any blood stains? Did you see anything like that?
I saw like this area, blood stain.
Okay, and that's when you were standing further away after you
Yeah, I
went
never
out?
got next to the body or anything, just from the distance where I was at. That's where I saw it.
And as far as you know, other than taking the dogs away from the area where the body was located, did they do anything to protect the crime scene at that point?
Did who?
Did anybody that you know of do anything to protect the crime scene at that point?
I left with the dogs and Sergeant Rodriguez remained there. From there on, I don't know what happened there. But he stayed there.
Was it dark outside?
It started getting dark.
I don't have anything else, Sharon.
Redirect examination.
Thank you, Adam. Deputy, was there anyone around to protect this crime scene from?
Yes, Sergeant Rodriguez.
So was there anyone in the area that you needed to like protect the crime scene from? That's the question. Is this a rural area?
Yes.
Is there anybody on the property other than Mr. Kelly who's with you that you're aware of?
At that time, no. I know that probably his wife was in the house, but I'm not sure if she was or not.
Are there crowds of people milling around that you need to make sure don't make their way to the body?
No.
And you just pointed a minute ago during cross-examination to where you saw a blood stain on the victim. Could you point to that again?
To where?
Where you said you saw the blood stain on the victim.
Somewhere in this area.
Can you stand up and show the jury, please?
Possibly this area. The body was laying face down, so I was able to see from where I was standing, which was not next to the body. I was a few feet, but I did see some stain in this area. I mean, I'm not sure if it was right in here or in here, but it was on the right side.
So somewhere on the right side, and tell me if I'm describing this correctly, you're describing sort of in the torso area, is that right? Either on the side or in the back?
Torso area, on this, like,
The right side of the torso area, either on the side or in the back, is that right?
yes, somewhere in there. I mean, I didn't look at I could see the stain, but I mean, exactly pinpoint it. But I did see blood.
On the right side of his,
On his right side, yes.
and he's laying face down, so on the back.
Yes.
And the issue with your report, you corrected that, is that right?
Yes, I did.
And your recording actually went directly into evidence, is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
So if anyone wanted to listen to your recording, they could have listened to it right away without your report, correct?
Yes.
So you don't know if anyone ever actually relied on that error in your report, do you?
I don't know.
Does anyone at the sheriff's department have body cam?
Not that I know of.
And did they at this time on January 30th of 2023?
No, I don't think there's anybody with cams.
So the only way you can record is with those recording devices that you referred to, is that right?
Yes.
And defense counsel asked you about the area where you were and how long it took you to get to the Kelly residence. Could you describe how you had to drive to get there?
When the call came up,
Yes.
so I was
Second call.
Second call. Yes, I was. So if you take Duquesne it leads to the road where I was at, which is FSR 4667. When I was in that area, we just check to see, since it's near the border, just check, drive slow and check to see if there's see any movement. So I was quite in, I don't remember how much further from Duquesne from that. When I heard the call, I was like looking out, and then I started coming back
Okay,
to the area, and then you have to drive
let
on
me ask,
Duquesne, then on Chemo Springs, then on Sagebrush, then towards the house. So it takes several minutes to get there.
so it's kind of a roundabout way to get back to the Kelly residence?
Yes.
The Forest Service, or the National Forest, is that adjacent to the Kelly property?
Yes.
And does the Forest Service road go along the area adjacent, not exactly adjacent to the Kelly property, but near the edge of the Kelly property?
Yes. It's probably south of the property or southeast, but because they turn around, they curve around, and so I don't know where his property ends.
Okay,
But for sure, it's his property is in the area, but I'm not in the property. I'm like heading towards the border and those sites on the
okay.
those roads that there's several of them, not just one. I mean,
So let's
and
talk
they
about
interconnect.
let's talk about the main Forest Service road. Does that go north and south?
Duquesne?
No, the main Forest Service road. Does that go north-south? Do you know?
I don't know because
Okay. It curves around at some point, right?
yeah, there's curves. You gotta go and then go down a ravine or wash and then cross it and then keep going. But they're not straight roads. They're curved roads, and they interconnect with other service roads.
I don't think I have any other questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Very well. Any questions for this witness from members of the jury? Very well, I see none. Did you have a question, sir? Okay, I thought you were writing something down. Thank you. All right, sir, you can step down. And is this witness excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. You're excused. Thank you. State can call its next witness.
Your Honor, the state calls Dr. Tim.